In 1966, a researcher named Hans Kruuk was studying hyenas in Africa when he saw something that didn't make any sense at all. A red fox slipped into a chicken coop one night, and by morning, 19 chickens were dead, not eaten, not even touched really, just dead. One fox, 19 chickens. A fox can comfortably eat maybe one chicken a day. Kruuk had no name for what he just watched, so he made one up. He called it surplus killing. And once he started looking for it, he realized this wasn't some rare glitch in nature. It was happening everywhere, and almost nobody outside of biology had ever heard of it. Today, we're looking at the animals that seem to kill far more than they could ever need. Why this happens, what it says about instinct versus intent, and why, once you understand the science, it's a lot less sinister than that title makes it sound. Let's get one thing straight before we go any further. This isn't a story about evil animals. There's no malice here, no cruelty in the way we'd usually use that word. What you're about to hear is one of the stranger glitches in an otherwise incredibly efficient natural world. And honestly, by the end, you might find yourself feeling a little bit sorry for the animals doing it. Let's start with the classic example. The weasel in a henhouse. Weasels have a brutal metabolism. Tiny body, huge energy demands. They basically have to eat constantly just to survive the night. Out in the wild, that means hunting voles and mice in tight burrows, where prey can't easily escape. Their entire hunting instinct evolved around small enclosed spaces packed with panicking, fleeing animals. Now picture what happens when that exact same weasel finds its way into a chicken coop. Suddenly, it's surrounded by dozens of animals in a small enclosed space, all of them flapping, fleeing, triggering every single catch it now signal in the weasel's brain, over and over and over. The weasel isn't thinking, I'll kill this one for dinner and stop. Its brain doesn't really have an off switch built for this scenario, because this scenario, an entire room of trapped panicking birds, almost never happens out in actual nature. Researchers studying this call it predatory drive exaggeration. The hunting instinct and the hunger instinct are actually controlled by two separate systems in the brain. Normally, they work together perfectly. But when prey becomes unnaturally abundant and unnaturally easy to catch, the hunting drive keeps firing long after the hunger drive would have said, that's enough. It's less a moral failure and more a system overload. And it's not just weasels. Leopards have been documented killing dozens of sheep in a single night when they find their way into an unprotected pen, sometimes barely touching most of the bodies afterward. In one especially extreme case in South Africa, researchers recorded a single leopard killing over 50 sheep and lambs in one spree. Wolves have done something similar with elk in deep snow, where the snow itself traps the prey and removes the only thing that usually keeps a hunt fair: the ability to run. Notice the pattern. It's never really about cruelty. It's about an ancient hunting program meeting a situation evolution never prepared it for. Take away the prey's ability to escape, and you accidentally break the natural braking system that normally keeps predators from overkilling. Here's where it gets stranger though, because not every case fits neatly into the overwhelmed instinct box. There's a well-documented case from New Zealand involving a pod of bottlenose dolphins and a much smaller, completely harmless species called the harbour porpoise. Researchers tracked incidents where dolphins killed porpoises through slow, repeated, oddly precise attacks. Despite porpoises offering zero food value and posing zero threat to the dolphins whatsoever. The dolphins weren't hungry, they weren't defending territory in any clear way. Some researchers have floated a slightly uncomfortable theory that for an animal as intelligent and socially complex as a dolphin, this kind of behavior might be closer to redirected aggression, or even, and scientists choose this word carefully, let that sink in for a second, that when one of the most beloved, friendly animals on the planet has a documented dark side that doesn't fit the simple, hungry predator explanation at all. And honestly, you don't even need to leave your living room to see a small, much gentler version of this exact same instinct. Your house cat is, biologically speaking, running the same hardware as a wild predator. That's why a fully fed, perfectly content cat will still pounce on a toy mouse with total commitment every single time. Scientists believe domestic cats have a hunting drive that's been almost completely separated from their hunger drive through thousands of years of domestication. They don't hunt because they're hungry anymore. They hunt because hunting itself feels rewarding, all on its own, which is, when you think about it, a pretty wholesome explanation for why your cat occasionally murders a sock and then proudly presents it to you like a trophy. So here's the actual neuroscience behind all of this, in the simplest terms possible. The predatory sequence, detect, chase, catch, kill, eat, isn't one single behavior. It's a chain of separate steps, and each step can fire on its own, triggered by its own specific cues. Researchers believe the act of catching and killing itself releases a reward response in the brain similar to dopamine, completely independent from whether the animal ever actually eats afterward. In a normal environment, the hunger signal usually shuts the whole sequence down once an animal is full. But in an unnatural environment, packed prey, no escape, sensory overload, that shutoff signal gets overwhelmed by an opportunity that almost never exists in the wild. In other words, it's not that these animals enjoy killing the way the word murder implies. It's that the hunting reflex, the chase, the catch, fires off intensely rewarding signals all on its own. And once those signals start firing rapidly and repeatedly, the brain has a genuinely hard time hitting the brakes. This actually creates a fascinating wrinkle when you zoom out to the bigger ecological picture. Surplus killing isn't always pure waste. Weasels and foxes regularly cache extra kills to survive brutal winters, essentially building a pantry while the opportunity exists. What looks like senseless violence in a farmer's henhouse is, in a natural burrow full of voles, actually a smart long-term survival strategy. The problem only shows up when humans accidentally create artificial conditions, like a coop, that mimic a burrow's density without any of its natural limits. So by the time you get to the end of a story like this, the title starts to feel a little unfair. These aren't villains. They're animals running an ancient, finely tuned survival program in a world that occasionally hands them a scenario their instincts were never built to handle gracefully. The fox in the henhouse isn't plotting anything. It's not gloating over 19 dead chickens the way a cartoon villain would. It's an animal whose alarm bells just wouldn't stop ringing, in a room specifically designed, completely by accident, to make sure they never could. So maybe murder for fun isn't really the right way to think about any of this at all. Maybe it's closer to an ancient survival instinct, beautifully optimized for a world of open fields and real escape routes, accidentally let loose in a room with no doors. And honestly, if you've ever absent-mindedly finished an entire bag of chips you weren't even hungry for just because they were sitting right in front of you and you couldn't quite stop, you already understand exactly what's going on in that henhouse. You just usually don't leave feathers everywhere when you do it.